Hi, friends. Becky Edwards, a purpose driven mother mentoring. I want to share our family home evening we had last night about this week's Come Follow Me lesson. It was a really powerful lesson, at least I thought it was. And we had a fantastic discussion. So maybe this can help you with your family home evening tonight, since it's now Monday. We have ours on Sundays. So we decided to talk about light. And my husband and I had looked up a story that he remembered from President Packer earlier in the day from a general conference. I will look that up and post it in with this Facebook Live. But I'm going to share the general gist of the story with you and then share how we lined it up with our lesson. President Packer was organizing a brand new stake in Samoa, which has, I don't know how many islands in Samoa. And they were supposed to go from one island to this other one to form the stake. And there was an airplane that was supposed to come and pick them up to take them. The airplane couldn't leave because of a storm. So they said, that's okay. We'll just get on a boat and we'll come over. So they didn't know that they were just coming right into a very dangerous tropical storm. So dangerous that they were having to hold on with their feet and with their hands not to get thrown overboard over and over. Like, it was a very scary storm, and they're on this boat. And so they finally get to the island, or they, close to the island, and they see the lighthouse, which is high up, right? Lighthouses are higher up. Well, what they were looking for was the lower light, which they had assigned 2 church members to come and hold up some kind of a light, I assume a lantern of some kind, directly below the lighthouse up on the hill. And what happened, the reason that was so vitally important is because there was this narrow passageway that the boat had to come in to get to shore. And if they got any too far to the left or to the right, there were these big, I believe, rocks. Maybe it was coral. I can't remember, something that would have destroyed the boat and they would have sunk. So they had to line up the lighthouse with the lower light in order to arrive safely. Well, what had happened was the 2 men that were assigned to do that, they fell asleep. So there was no lower light. And there was one guy with a flashlight up right at the front of the ship, and he just kept shining it back and forth, watching so closely for any rocks or coral or whatever that was. And he would say, oh no, we're getting too close, back up. And they repeatedly tried to get in and then backed up and get in and backed up because they couldn't find the lower light that would guide them safely into this narrow passageway to shore. So they ended up finding a completely different route. I can't remember if they went to another island and then came back. I don't remember the whole thing, but it was very life-threatening and dangerous. And President Packer said, I would not allow myself to ask for the names of who it was that was supposed to be out there, because you can imagine how tempting it would be to be pretty ticked off. But here's the cool thing. So what we did is I have a son that's 6'3", 6'4", and I had him hold a candle up high so he could represent the lighthouse on one side of the room while my husband told this story, and all the lights were turned out in the home. So we're all sitting there listening to this story. We had company over, which made it even more fun, to share with these other wonderful people. And as we're looking, in the dark, a small light can be pretty bright. And just hearing this story. And then I finally came in with another candle and stood right below, or I actually just sat right below Gabe in front of him so that it could show what it looked like to line up the lighthouse with the lower light, right? And we talked about how important it is that you and I are a lower light to guide others to the lighthouse. And I just loved that analogy so much. And you probably have heard there's a hymn, "Let the lower lights be burning." I'll put a link in the comments for that, because it has a different name. So we started. This is how we did our family home meeting. We started with "I'm trying to be like Jesus," that opening song, and then had a prayer. Then Mike told the story and kind of bore his testimony, and then we had the song "Let the Lower Lights Be Burning." And then we discussed for quite a while. It was a really good discussion about who's been a lower light for you. We just kind of went around the circle, and anybody who wanted to take a turn, and how can we be more of a light? And just talking about different situations where we may not know who needs our light. And we are not the ultimate light, right? We never are. It's always, we want our light to guide others to Christ. He's the light, but he's asking us to be a lower light. I also thought of if somebody else was a light in that story, over off to the left or over off to the right, they may have gotten confused and deceived and followed the wrong light. And don't we sometimes do that in life? Like we follow some expert instead of praying about our problem. And expert, it's good to check into expertise and mentors and professionals and whatever it is that we need, but we always want to check in and make sure, is this in alignment with God's will for me, right? And so and as a teenager, it's such a natural thing to need heroes and models in our lives, and so it's easy for them to fall prey to peer pressure, even if it's not a light that will guide them to Christ. So that might be an analogy, that you could put the light to the left or the right, but it's not something we should follow unless it's exactly guiding us to Christ. So anyway, wanted to share that with you in case that was helpful. And if you have something else in mind for family home evening tonight, you can tuck that in your pocket and use it another day. But it was a powerful one. And I think the fact that the lights were down and the only light that was up was a candle made it just more reverent and kind of more special. So anyway, have a happy come follow me lesson. See you guys.